Alright, so here's a quick update on the vacuum tube radio. From the first video that I made on this, summary of it all was I powered it up with this little jumper wire back here from that blown inductor to the AC right here, and it jumped that so it can actually bypass the blown inductor. The radio powered up and we got a loud hum. So, turns out it is this bad capacitor right here. This paper capacitor. It's a 3-in-1. So it has square, triangle, and I think that's the common ground. And I guess you can call that a ghost because it's flat and curved on the top. And by the way, how you like my girl nails? So when I connected my multimeter across, I found that this is the common ground, and to here is positive 50 volts, pulsating DC because it is rectified DC, so it has to be smoothed by this capacitor. My multimeter measured 50 volts DC, although it's pulsating, so it's probably not completely accurate voltage, but then I measured like positive 47 here, and not so much going on here, but this was after I found out which terminals to connect this boy to. So here I have a Nichicon 200 volt 100 microfarad capacitor. It's a pretty nice capacitor. And here are the ratings right here. We have 120 microfarads, 60, and 20 microfarads. And the voltages is not a problem because this is 200 volts. And we're at 150 volts here, so I wasn't really worried by connecting it to all the terminals. But anyways, so I found that this is the common ground. So I connected my negative there, and I jumped here. And immediately the loud hum went away. And I noticed some changes from here to here, and from here to here. Like slight changes on the hum, but this was the main culprit right here. The hum completely vanished. I'm like, wow. So I held it there, and I noticed the tone was working. I heard like the hiss kind of like dull out when I turned it down because I had the volume all the way up. I mean, volume. I tend to mess up on saying that word. And it was on FM. I wasn't picking up anything, but that's because I believe this uses an external FM antenna. I put it over to AM, and as I was tuning the dial, I started hearing stations coming through. Like, I was shocked. Like, wow. Put the capacitor across there, this test capacitor, and I was tuning AM, and heard some stations going through. I was hearing a little bit of 60 hertz buzz coming through, but that was only in the empty parts. When I tuned into some strong stations, it was good. So that's the good news. I got some bad news. The dial cord snapped. Yep. That's something I'm going to have to replace and calibrate. The freaking dial cord snapped. Here it is. It's thin braided line. So I think a good contestant or a good replacement would be braided fishing line. And yeah, it should work just fine. So that is the braided dial cord from 1958. It let go. It was good, and this freaking thing, like I showed in the last video, this thing was calibrated really well. It stopped at the beginning and stopped at the end really well, and that's all right. It's a quick update on this on this radio here. So there's probably a really good light of hope on this radio. Replace this capacitor with a nice good electrolytic, and the AM was already picking up stations, and I didn't get a chance to test out FM or the phono input, and the dial cord snapped on me. I could probably test a phono input. It's a bummer. So I'm going to have to replace this line or dial cord and get it calibrated. That's going to be fun.